Sumaroni.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I rise to speak on the third reading of the Land Transport Speed Limits Validation and Other Matters Bill, and wish to again repeat Labor's support for this legislation, even though it has been done in urgency, and it's not often that we agree with the government rushing legislation through, but in this instance we do believe that it's warranted, and that is because if we boil this down without all the technicalities involved down to its core root, this is about the health and safety of our community. So, of course, we would want to make sure that the rules and regulations that local authorities quite rightly put in around speed limits, that they be adhered to, because the reason those speed limits are put in place at the beginning are to keep people safe in our community, and I particularly want to ensure that the speed limits that local authorities put in place around schools and around early childhood education facilities and the places where our young children are prevalent, that those in particular are speed limits that people do adhere to. And we are here to fix up some potential technicalities, and I guess my one criticism of this process and this bill would be that while we are doing it retrospectively and we're doing it with great haste, and as I've said, there's a legitimate reason for that, it is a little odd that we have a bill that is drafted that says actually there might not even be a problem, but just in case there is, we're going to pass this legislation. I would rather be satisfied that there was a problem that needed fixing up, but the way this bill is drafted, in fact, the purpose clause says that it's there just to remove any doubt about the validity of speed limits, rather than being quite assertive in saying that there is a problem, there's a loophole, needs to be fixed, and here's Parliament's solution to it. Nonetheless, Labor is pleased to support it. Mr Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to take the opportunity while debating legislation that keeps people safe on our roads going through an urgency, not to point out the many other situations that we would really want this government to urgently deal with that would improve road safety and the safety of our communities as well. And the one that's very dear to my heart, gosh, people might be surprised that they may not have heard me speak on it for probably the best part of a month, I think. But establishing a commuter train service between Hamilton and Auckland would equally...
That's not part of this debate.
Well, Mr Speaker...
No, don't. It's not part of this debate.
That I want to hear about it. But keeping people safe on our road, there are other urgent matters that I believe that our government ought to attend to, and that commuter train service is just one of those. So, Mr Speaker, there are potentially loopholes. We don't want, on this side of the House, people to get the impression that there is a technicality and that makes it okay for them to speed in their communities. That clearly is not right. We want the rule of law to be observed, and there may have been some situations where local bodies, local authorities have found themselves in a situation where their bylaws may have inadvertently become, well, I wouldn't say they're unlawful, but they may not stand up in a court of law if they were contested. And when it comes to the safety of our community, we can't be having that, and so Labor is here to support the transition of this bill. We hope, though, that the government has listened carefully to what we have said in committee stages. There was no select committee process for this, and so no ability to really influence the wording in the bill. My colleagues Phil Twyford and David Parker, amongst others, were at pains to point out some wording changes that they thought could have improved the bill, and it's disappointing that the Minister didn't use his ministerial discretion to attend to those matters, and I sincerely hope that we're not back here again anytime soon to fix this legislation up again as a result of that inattention to detail. So, Mr Speaker, it's a bill we'd rather not be here spending time debating. It is nonetheless important that we get this right and that we do it swiftly. This is probably one of the better uses that I have seen of urgency in this term of this government.
Members, this debate is concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Land Transport, Speed Limits, Variation and Other Matters Bill, third reading.
Call on Government Order of the Day number 1.
Appropriate